The Building Brands podcast is dedicated to exploring the journeys of industry leaders who have successfully built a brand. Join me, Robert Royer, president of Building Brands Marketing, and an entrepreneur who has successfully scaled multiple brands as we dive deep into the strategies, challenges, and insights that have shaped the success of industry leaders and provide you with the resources you need to do the same. Building Brands Marketing is a full-service marketing agency specializing in crafting customized marketing strategies for service-based businesses with a creative powerhouse to drive real results. Welcome to the Building Brands Podcast. Welcome to the Building Brands Podcast. I'm super pumped for today's show. Today, we're welcoming a categorical expert in the home services industry. My friend, founder, and president of Ark Roofer, Luke Secora. Welcome, Luke.
Hey, thank you, Robert. I appreciate you having me on and having the opportunity to share a little bit about myself and the company and see what you have for me. I know you got some curveballs for me to make me a little embarrassed today.
Yeah, well, you know, I like a few surprises up my sleeve. I'm excited for this one because, you have a great story. Ark Roofer has an incredible story. We're going to learn a lot today on today's show. Luke, let's just start off simple. Can you just share your personal story? What led you to launch Ark Roofer, and how did your background shape the company's mission?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, it's a long story, and I know we're on a podcast, so I'll make it appropriate. Growing up, painting houses, I just found out I'm a fourth generation painter, painting contractor. If you go on our website, you'll see it says third generation. And I was just having a historical storytelling with my mom and my dad. And they're like, you're actually fourth generation. So pretty crazy. I was kind of born into it. And I've been an entrepreneur since I was, 18 years old. I've failed at probably 7 or 8 businesses. And I've also learned a lot through that failure, and it's been an incredible journey. I don't regret any of the past failures and the past attempts that I've done, but long story short, man, I started the company because I was tired of doing the inside remodels and stuff like that. I'd work for my dad and do some things on the weekends, and my dad never really did roofing. So I got to researching and kind of understood that there was more opportunity on the outside of the house, especially for roofs where we live. There's so much storm activity here,
Yeah.
Just lately, we've been having tennis ball sized to baseball sized hail, not just once in 20 years anymore. It's yearly. So, we just started realizing that there's more opportunity to serve more people and make a bigger impact. And so that's kind of what brought me into the roofing space, just with my construction knowledge. And so I started that in the end of 2018 and actually sold my first job January of 2019. So
Man, very cool. Luke, looking back, do you think there's anything that kind of gave you a leg up or a head start as a brand builder other than the prior entrepreneurship?
Man, I always say that, God puts certain people in people's lives for a reason, but I also believe in the law of attraction that, if you put yourself out there, you'll find opportunity. If you create that positive outward energy, you're going to get it back in return. So a lot of that does have to do with blaming myself for that. But as far as the branding aspect of that, it was, if you don't post what you're doing, nobody's going to see you. Nobody's going to know who you are. And that's kind of how it started, was just social media, was printing out a full list of every contact in my phone. And I remember learning from multi-level marketing companies. They taught me how to work from my own list, how to turn 100 people into 300 people by asking everyone who they know and so forth. So that's kind of how my personal branding started, was just letting everyone know what I was up to, what I was doing, and then started posting proof over promise. And that's how we started evolving into that new slogan that you'll hear a lot. And if you look at us on social media now, it's, proof over promise. We don't do much bragging about who we are. We just show the results and show what other people say about us. And it's been an incredible journey, where we've developed a marketing engineer, a marketing team within our company that's really elevated and skyrocketed that branding concept.
Yeah, what I love about what you're saying, Luke, is it's so critical. And I try to talk to so many business owners about this, about blurring the lines between your personal brand and your corporate brand, right? Like when you're an entrepreneur, work life balance kind of has a very blurriness to it. And a
Mm.
lot of people want to draw like a distinctive line between the two. And the reality is, like, your personal brand, especially at the beginning days, can be leveraged so much to influence the corporate brand. And I know you've done very well at that, where now, your corporate brand is well established, very reputable in the community and the Georgetown surrounding Austin market where you do business. And I do want to backtrack just a step though, and I want you to talk a little bit about the brand creation of the Ark Roofer brand, because that's got a fascinating story, and I think it'll be good for other service-based business owners to hear.
Yeah. So, where did the name come from? First of all, like when I'm thinking, with my creative mind late at night, that's when my creative mind comes on and turns on those lights. And I'm thinking to myself, where did this name come from? And honestly, I just, I'm a man of faith. I try to grow closer to God. Of course, I'll never be perfect. I don't want to claim that as well, but so I wanted to find something that was consistent, like God is consistent. His story never changes, and I don't want my story or my mission to change as well. My story will always evolve, but so I started thinking roofs protecting you from the storm, and metaphorical idea and literal idea just merged together in my head. And I go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that Noah in the Bible had the strongest and best and most solid roof in the entire world. Holy moly. And so I'm like, Noah's Ark, the Ark. Oh my gosh, the Ark. And I'm like, Ark. And then I started thinking of like the archangel, the archangel, or the archangel, and I started thinking like instead of roofing, the roofer, I don't know. And so this is just what goes on in my brain. Like I'm literally not planning for what I'm saying right now. So this is literally what happened in my brain. And so I'm just doing my own thing. And I come out with Ark Roofer, and our slogan was here to protect you from the storm. So going back biblically, physically, Noah's Ark was the strongest in the entire world. And metaphorically, it's like, I'm not only here to protect you from the physical storm, but hey, man, if you want to have a deeper conversation and connect on a different level, like I'm going to open that door and see if you come in. And if you come in, then we can talk and get on a deeper level. And that is more of my purpose.
Yeah.
So, and every time I come into my office now, I see that name. And that name, every time I drive in, if I'm having a good day or sometimes I'm having a bad day, and I see that name and I go, man, I needed to see that name, because I created it mostly for a selfish inward mentality where I need to surround myself with certain books or the God or people in my life that I want to be like. And when I see that name, I feel like God is more present at that moment and just letting me be more aware of what my true purpose is here on earth, and what I am called to be for his glory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And like what I like is that there was so much, like, there's reasonable intent behind it, and it really attaches to where you've brought the company from a cultural standpoint. So I'm curious, like from the early days, what type of company culture was important to you to create so the company best served the mission of Ark Roofer as you originally created it.
Yeah, I mean, straight from the get-go, it was the word serve was the first thing that came to mind when I was bringing in more people or opportunity or anybody that was going to represent this brand. Was what is in your heart, down deep in your soul? Are you here to serve others, or are you here to serve yourself? And I didn't care really about skill sets. It's easy to teach somebody how to, learn the components of a roof and, how to build a roof and how to sell a roof. But man, it's so hard to find people that have that deep down soul that says, you know what, I'm here to serve him first. And through that, I'm willing to serve you and detach my personal selfish desires from the outcome so that I can do my best for you and over deliver and go the extra mile. And so that was the main thing that I looked for in others that really attracted me. And then it created this type of culture where it was selfless. It was, everybody comes on and everybody has certain strengths, everybody has weaknesses, and then all of a sudden we're serving within in each other.
Yeah.
And we're building each other up, and it's just, the law of attraction just started coming to fruition. And that was the main thing, man. What's your heart? Who are you? And now as we evolve, it's more into, all right, now I want the people that have the heart, a true servant's heart. But I'm also looking at and pre-qualifying new candidates to join Ark Roofer that also have the elevated mindset.
Yeah.
And we'll probably get into that. So
this is why I was so excited for this episode today, because I've known you for a few years now, Luke, and there's a lot of synergy between your organization and my organization with Building Brands Marketing as far as the cultural mindset, right? And what I found was, like, for me and our hiring, it was critical because I like to do what I do with passion, right? One of our core values is execute with passion. It was critical to hire people who have that same level of passion, maybe not in the same area, but they have that same level of passion in the service delivery, because that way it keeps that same level of service consistent across the board. And one of the things that I think was a turning point for me in my organization. And in the beginning days of a service-based business, you're just trying to survive, right? You're scrapping,
yeah.
You're worried about your next meal. You're just trying to get clients, trying to get customers to survive. And then there's some point, like a couple years in, where you're like, oh man, this thing is a serious business, legitimate, scalable business and system at this point. And your whole strategy at that point is like now 50% new customer and client acquisition, and now 50% new talent acquisition, and like retaining the right type of talent that fits your cultural mindset. And I know in your business, it's very much been like a similar road, right? So talk to me about, like, what do you look for in the right type of attitudes in order to bring into your organization to hold that same kind of passion that you have when you started the business?
Yeah. I just did a training actually 3 days ago on Monday that relates really strongly with this. And it was just asking my entire sales organization just a few simple questions. Do you understand what the task is? How to do your job, essentially, what you have to do, what part of what process, what steps within your process do you have to do to do your job? Okay. Do you understand when to do those tasks? And then do you understand how to do each task? And then I said, okay, great. Wow. Amazing. And then the most important question came in was, why do you want to do those tasks better than anyone else? Why? what are you doing all of this for? Who are you doing it for? What is your fire? What lights that fire inside of you?
Yeah.
And so that's the type of questions that I get super. I mean, I had one of the guys in my training, was just started bawling his eyes out right in the middle of my train like 3 days ago. It happens all the time with me on when I get deep with people. I hit them on a whole nother level where they understand. I'm persuading them to see what I see in not only myself, but in what I see in them. And sometimes it breaks people so much that it's transforming for them. And it's transforming for me to see that transformation. And I might be going down a little left field, but it's the why that really matters, that I know that these people are gonna do what they need to do to serve our clients as a team, because at the end of the day, I've got to learn how to trust people and empower others. Otherwise, I will stunt my own growth for our community. So I've got to learn how to do that.
100%, and stunt the entire firm's scalability. For me, in the hiring process and interviewing process, what's super critical for me to try to sniff out is accountability and ownership, because that's so important to me. And like, especially our senior team members, they expect everybody to take accountability and ownership over their segment of the machine. So you're there, one person's slack doesn't get put on the other person. I know that's one thing for me in the hiring process that is a red flag. If somebody tells me about their failures in the past in the interview process, when I'm asking about a previous employer or a previous project or something like that, and they immediately back that up with why it was someone else's fault, I'm like,
Yeah.
red flag, immediately just take them out of the interview process. Like, I would much rather someone tell me I got fired. This is why I got fired. I messed up. I did this wrong. And like, I gain so much more respect for that than someone that says, I got let go. The company was doing this, and the president was really, really just a bad leader, and blah blah blah. Like that. Those are things that I always look for in the interview process. They're like a surefire.
Sucked, man.
Yeah,
that's why I sucked.
Yeah, they made me put a bunch of data into a CRM, and it's like, well, I mean, were you in a sales role? Yeah, that's kind of, that's how it is in this day and age, in this decade, Like, is there anything that was like a specific hire or turning point in your organization that you felt like, okay, our cultural, morale has now gone to another level because of this turning point?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's hard because there were so many distractions as I wore so many hats in the first 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I swear it was 110 hours a week for 3 years, and I had a brand new wife. I had a brand new pregnant wife.
Yeah.
And then boom, after we had our first kid, within that first 3 years, 3 months later, we were pregnant again. And there was part of my why right there. That's we could go down that little area later, but that was definitely why for me, man. Like, wow. But the pivoting point, was once I started empowering others and learning how to let go. That was when the real culture started happening.
Yeah.
And we can just sit here and pause and think about that right there. I mean, wow, right? Like, that's a profound realization right there. Was once I learned to let go and trust others, everything changed for me,
Luke,
and for the company.
You are like absolutely right. That is where scalability becomes more possible than ever, right? I do a lot of speaking with like the colleges around here. I speak to students, things like that. And one of the signature things I say at some point every time I'm talking to, the younger generation is, I would be amiss to think that my success is not dependent on other people. And the day that I embrace the fact that my success is dependent on others, And, I don't really have direct control in that regard of that, like, hey,
Yeah.
there's going to be other people that have to step up into roles that they're not in right now in order to, further along mine and their success. Right.
Mm.
And sometimes I have to back out of the way. The best thing you can do is back out of the way, and what you hit it spot on, empower them, like I think you're spot on. And I think that also with service-based businesses, I find that so much more difficult to do because it's not
Yeah.
a widget, right? So you're like,
Yeah.
well, can they do it the same quality and level of care and, all these things that I do it with? That's the tough part for me, man.
It's so tough, man, because there's so many moving parts, there's so many variables, and to trust somebody that is at someone else's house
Yeah.
is completely different from trusting somebody that is just in the other office on a computer doing some work, right? I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of similarities, but man, it could be just way more disastrous sending somebody to somebody's physical home by themselves.
Yeah.
And so it's one of my first questions that I ask sales guys in specifically. I love sales. I love marketing. I think that's why me and you kind of get along. We have
Yeah.
that little other frequency that we can turn our dial to and understand that part. But is hey Johnny, hey, so you want to join this company? First I tell them why you want to join this company out of all the other companies. What do you see in us? And then now let me ask you, if you're wildly successful here, who are you going to blame that on? Well, I mean, it's my work ethic,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. I want you to blame yourself. I don't want you to blame me for your success, because I'm going to teach you the same way I teach everybody. And there are people here that have been wildly transforming their entire family's future, and there has been people that just couldn't do it. And so what are you like when you hit success at a company? Who do you blame that on? And I want them to say themselves, because it's going to set me up for the other question is, what if you fail at this? Who are you going to blame? And if you ask it in the right way, in the right tone, at the right time, they should answer it correctly, because they should understand where you're going with this.
Mm-hmm.
That's such an important question to get somebody to own up to before it happens.
Yeah.
So I'm eliminating that objection or that obstacle before it even brings up in surfaces within that situation in the future. And I can always revert back to our conversation before I even hired you. Like I understand my system might not be as good as somebody else's system. But hey, at least we have a system. But with what we do have, there's been many people that have made so much for their family and has changed their trajectory, right? So if they can do it, what's your limiting variable? What's your limiting factor that is preventing you from hitting it? So, and if it's a circumstance or something, then I go over those same questions: the what, the why, the when, and then the how, and then and then I say, well, and if you're still failing at it, then it's a personal circumstance. Well, what is it? Did your printer break and you can't print out the papers? Okay, we can solve that like that. And if we can solve that for you, is that what it's going to take to find success? So I love just having talks with people, man. And it's all about asking the right questions at the right time and getting people to own who they are.
Yeah. Well, I know you've also, credit where credit's due, right? You've also done a good job of supplying them with the right knowledge, resources, tools. So I know you've been like borderline obsessed over identifying the key things that Ark Roofer and, that your company does that maybe other roofers and exterior service companies in the area don't do as well. And you've meticulously identified those details, those benefits, and then you've articulated that to your team. So your team is equipped with the right things to be successful. And that's not like, that seems all common sense as I say it out loud, but
Yeah.
that's not something every business owner does, service-based entities, especially ones that are not, family owned like yourself, where, leadership might be so detached from that level of training, that
Yeah.
there's not the same level of passion, and I'm curious, like, how would you describe the connection between your company culture and your customer experience that they get with the Ark Roofer brand?
Yeah. Um, that's a great question. Yeah, it goes back to the servant's heart. That's always going to be a part of internal and external customer facing, or what we see behind the scenes. Um, so we have a couple people who used to be a pastor at our facility, and we have the open opportunity for them to host a Bible study once a week. When it's really busy, we kind of put that on pause, but
Yeah.
during the slower seasons, we pick that back up. And so just kind of surrounding, so you put somebody in a room with words, positive words, you're amazing, you're beautiful, you can do it, and you put somebody else in the same room, and then you switch the words to poison, toxic, hate, whatever. You're going to get a totally different outcome from that person if they're in that room for long enough. So so we have a lot of that mentality goes on our walls, a lot of it goes in our systems, a lot of our pay structure even is incentivized. So if you over deliver and go the extra mile, you actually get paid more for that.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of the biggest key components to keeping the fire lit with people. And I think a big part of people leaving or getting burnt out is because they don't care to try hard or try as hard as they can, because it's not going to make nobody cares, and so how do you keep that alive? You incentivize people for everything, and so we kind of do that with the homeowners as well. When we're done with the whole project and get paid out, we're never finished with our clients. We go back into the whole liking phase all over again, and
Yeah.
we build relationships, and we incentivize our clients, and we gift them, and we show our appreciation to them. And it's the same recognition that we do internally as well. And I think it creates just that emotion of gratitude and thankfulness. And we're always going to, no matter what, we're always going to do the right thing, even when nobody's looking. So there's a lot of correlation there.
Yeah, it's that level of integrity. I know for me, I went to a workshop a few years ago, Luke, and this is probably like so similar to your philosophy. It was all about, learning about your why and what's your corporate why and so on and so forth. And anyway, so then I went home, I noodled on it for a couple weeks. I started thinking, what is our why? Like our real why, not a mission statement, vision statement, but our true why. And I identified for us, it was enhancing livelihoods. And what that meant for me was, as leadership of the company, enhancing the livelihoods of our employees. Because if we enhance the livelihoods of our employees, and our employees were happy and passionate about what they do, and people wanted to grow professionally and collaborate and challenge each other, all that trickled down to enhancing the livelihoods of the business owners we work with, because we work primarily with SMBs. We're not in, a lot of Fortune 100 companies and things like that. So it's very directly attributable to their everyday livelihood when their business grows. And so the reason I'm sharing all that is, when I identified enhancing the livelihoods of our employees was ultimately going to trickle down to a better end result to the clients, and focus on that first, I started to see the whole level of service actually start to get better, and better than back in the day when it was me with my hands in everything, trying to be controlled. Going back to the beginning of this conversation, right? It's like amazing how that trickle down effect works.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I know your why is similar, kind of similar to ours as well. Our purpose is, transforming lives one day at a time by providing every customer with tailored solutions and delivering the most customer centric experience in the roofing industry. It's there's so much competition out there,
Yeah.
and I think the easiest way, and it's funny because there's so much competition out there, yet it's so easy if you just are aware. It's so easy to be at that top 1% because the average person just skates by just to pass the test,
Just doesn't care, right? Like
right?
sometimes just by caring, you can be in like the top tier. It's
Yeah.
crazy. The more competition and more options there are, sometimes the easier it is to stand out,
Mm,
you know?
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
authenticity cannot be taught, cannot be, it's the it factor. You either have it or you don't, right? And I
Yeah.
know authenticity has been something that has been ingrained in your brand. And I know you've really built a personal and a corporate reputation on authenticity, accessibility, those sort of things. I'm curious, what in your marketing, what role, I'm a marketing guy, got to ask a marketing question. What role does that authenticity and, that trust component that's really critical to you play in your marketing message that you put into your, social media videos and all your different marketing that you deploy?
Yeah. Oh man. Well, the biggest fear with not doing all the marketing myself is, oh my gosh, dude. Oh man, I hope they don't put a bait and switch out there because that's not me.
Yeah.
And man, how can we create something that's a scroll stopper, like where you're just scrolling, man, and how can you create something to go like, no, I want to park right there, I want to see what the heck is that, that's weird, or that's not normal, or that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
And then reel in something authentic in it that's going to fit my personal integrity and my company culture and who we are. And it's having those conversations with other people, and this goes back to how to run a well-ran business and how to have good relationships with people who help you with marketing, right? Like yourself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm working with you, it's clarity, it's going over expectations, it's having the first call, it's okay, let's learn about each other. Who are you? This is who I am. Just stop right there. Do you think we're a good fit just based on who we are as people? Okay, let's continue.
Yeah.
All right. Now here's our goals, and here's what we would like to expect. And then within those parameters, then we start tailoring in like all the variables, okay, what kind of messages, what kind of images, what kind of branding, what kind of call to action, what's the truth going to be after they click and then we come to their house? Is it going to be exactly what they expect? So it's clarity on between me and someone like you, but then it's also that clarity from that ad to the end consumer, to where when that ad goes into a live transaction
Mm-hmm.
all the way to fruition into something like that, it's does the is the client getting what they thought they were going to get based on how they entered the first course of that lead when they clicked on that Facebook ad or that whatever ad, right?
Yeah.
And it's trying to maintain that consistency all the way from A to Z through all the stages. And so you're one of those stages where you're on the very, 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 very front end, And there's a couple different levels there. There's the branding aspect, and then there's the actual lead generation aspect. And you got to have both to really maximize that opportunity in marketing. But then it's, they travel, the customer travels through this journey of taking a call in the company or setting an appointment, and then the actual live inspection, and then the presentation and presenting all the options and eliminating that confusion and getting clear again and getting realigned again before they sign anything. And then all the way to the end is the message clear and the same, and is there consistency through every step of the entire journey? Whether, in the beginning, I was every step. I wore all the hats. And as you grow, you need to be extra clear so that you don't lose that consistency as you empower others and put your trust in others. But it's like it's like you're baking a cake, man. You got to have those ingredients just right.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like so much similarity between the formation of your brand, going all the way back to earlier, right? Like my ex-wife was pregnant, I think a couple months after I started building brands, and then I spent that first 15 months no days off. I tell people this, and people think like I see them like roll their eyes. I'm like, for 15 months I never had an off day. Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, I worked every single day, and people think I'm exaggerating, and I'm like, that is how buckled down and bootstrapped it can be that first, couple of years. And so that just, when you've put in that much blood, sweat, and tears, it makes it that much harder to give up control in some areas, because you think about how much, you sacrificed with family and all these sort of things in order to get from here to there, or there to here, I guess. So I'm curious, like, what advice would you give other service-based business owners who are trying to scale without losing the heart of their company?
If it ain't in writing, it ain't true. So we'll start there, right? Hey, well, I told you that's what we need to do. I told you that's who we need to, what we need to represent.
Yep.
Well, I thought you meant it like this, or, okay. All right. Hold on. Let's start over. Okay. Let me call my mentor, Luke, over here, and we're going to see if he can help us with a document. Hey, let's write out a standard operating procedure for this one position, for this one task. Okay, you have 3 tasks. I'm not going to give you any more. Let's start with these 3 tasks. Here's an SOP for each one. It's in writing. And then you have them regurgitate back to you. Do you understand this SOP here? Let's go over it. Let's train you on it. And then I want you to tell me, I'm going to take it away. Now tell me what that SOP says. Right? So I can't just tell them what to do and give them a piece of paper and rely on that. I have to challenge them to teach me how I want them to do their job, because if they don't own it, they won't do it.
Yep. That's one of the advantages of you coming from the sales side of the business, because there's less hesitation for like role play and some of these, back and forth trainings. I think one of the things that we can do that is, can be a mistake as leaders sometimes, information overload. Well, I gave you this whole training, module and this whole training database that has all the answers to these questions, and it's just so overwhelming that they're having difficulty trying to, utilize it to its full capacity. If there was like one cultural habit or mindset shift that you would share with business owners that they could start this week, what would that be?
This week would be, it's a lot of things, but the easiest thing to take away, if you're listening to this right now, and let's just say you've been in business for 2+ years, It's easy to complicate things as you grow. It's hard to keep things simple as you grow. So take 4 hours off every week to sit back in your OG chair, put on your thinking cap, and go, okay, how can I trash the little confusion, complex things that I thought were cool, but they're just going to create an overload? Let's just keep it simple. Let me go back to the basics and just make sure that everyone has no confusion. And that's eliminating the complexity part of your business. If you gotta dumb it down, not just for your customers, but you gotta dumb it down for everybody. And that's where we came to having 7 different departments, and everyone only has to know how to do one division. You know, most of these companies, most of these service-based companies, what do they have? What do the sales guys do? They go get their own leads, whether that's, you know, marketing or whatnot, right? They go get their own leads. They go sell the job. They go project manage the job. They also, a lot of them, if they're an insurance restoration company like we are, they deal with the insurance as well. And then they also order all the materials and set it up with the homeowner. I mean, they're literally doing every step. How the heck are you going to be reliable for your customer and have a consistent experience? You're wearing too many hats. So that would be my advice: is make sure nobody is wearing too many hats. Once you have the ability to trust others and empower others, but it might be a little different in your first year or even your first 2 years, because you do have to wear a lot of hats. But you can still keep that principle simple and just go, you know what? I'm gonna do better and better and better if I just have a simple system for now, even if I'm wearing a lot of hats. Just KISS, right? Keep it stupid. That's where a lot of guys go wrong, is they try to complicate it habitually. They don't realize they're making it more complex.
100%. That's solid advice. Like, I'm still learning that to this day. 18 years of owning and managing businesses. This actually just happened about a week and a half ago. Alex Richardson, who you know, my business partner, came up with this system for project management, and it's called the 333 system. And I've spent like years, especially with building brands, trying to develop this like engine planner, this problem-solving engine planner of, hey, every problem and scenario, if this is the problem, this is the answer and what you do. And Alex rolled out this system, the 333 system. First thing you're going to do is you're going to look at 3 sources for the answer to your question. So that might be ChatGPT, might be Google, might be, it doesn't matter, Reddit, whatever. And then you're going to use, you're then going to tap on 3 colleagues. If you're in a smaller department where there's not somebody that you could tap on, at least one. And then you're going to come up with 3 potential solutions, and you're going to decide one of them you're going to recommend. And before you kick something up the ladder, because previously people might just take these problems and put them at the feet of their manager and go, hey, help me. Well, before you kick it up the ladder, you're going through that exercise. And so when that project manager, whoever, comes to me with that problem, at least now they've gone through the critical thinking process and formed a hypothesis. This exercise is like such a simple process. Hey, look 3 places, ask a coworker, and then make your solution to the boss. However, once we like dumbed it down to that level, and I say we, it was Alex that came up with it, and all of our team on the client relations side was like, oh, this makes perfect sense. This is perfect. And there's already been like less of those more the questions of like, what do I do? And it's more of the questions of like, this is the scenario, this is what I'm suggesting. How do you think we should work through this? And me as a leader and a manager, that equips me so much better to be impactful,
Yeah.
because now you kind of already did the heavy lifting there. So it's like simple things like that sometimes can make the largest difference, not just for us as leaders, but for those employees. Now they feel like problem solving has become easier because they have a clear cut process, and it's not go to this knowledge base and try to find the answer to your question out of 100 different questions and scenarios in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. That's crazy. I was gonna get on my phone and text you, be like, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, I don't know who I learned it from,
Yeah.
with that 333. Like it sounds like he kind of customized
Yeah.
it and tailored, but oh my gosh, like I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah.
And if you can empower others and teach them how to be proactive and not reactive, and how to solve their own problems. Oh my gosh, sometimes everybody already has 80% of the answers themselves anyway. They just don't realize it because nobody's taught them how to utilize their own capabilities. And it's
Exactly.
like they're so programmed into going to school. It starts when the bell rings, boom, I gotta move. It's so reactory in school. And so when they get into business, they're just in, it's just a habitual thing. It's not their fault. It's running into somebody like me or you that's going, hey, you know what? Can we get weird for a minute? Like, this
Yeah.
is gonna blow your mind. You probably never heard. You realize you can think for yourself. I promise you can.
Yeah.
Oh man, do you want to feel good about yourself? Like 10 times. Can I teach you how to think for yourself in the way that I'm thinking that you can do it? Dude. And then, dude, I mean, aha moments.
It's like giving him that process and protocol as well, then allows them to circle back around to the end result, and they go, hey, now I'm more empowered. I know I can solve this challenge, and I'm growing professionally, growing personally, which connects right back to that cultural mindset we started this episode with, of elevating that company culture, which ultimately is going to elevate that client experience. Luke, this has been an
Yeah.
absolute pleasure. I always enjoy talking with you. I learn something every single time. Where can our viewers and listeners find out more about Ark Roofer online?
Yeah. Ark Roofer online. What's it called? The handle on YouTube is at the Ark, ARK Roofer. You know how everyone else says roofing, their company name, and then roofing? I mean, come on. Observe. You mentioned, said it earlier. Sometimes it's easier when there's more competition. Yeah, because you get to observe more of the people,
Yeah.
and then you know what to do. You do the opposite.
Yeah, or what not to do, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, go to the Ark Roofer on YouTube. That's also our handle on social media, Facebook, Instagram as well. And as always, you could go to our website and stay up to date with subscribing to our newsletter and stuff like that. So, or just hit me up. I'm love to talk and meet new people. So
Yeah. Luke,
yeah,
always a pleasure, my brother. Appreciate you being on the show, and we'll talk soon, okay?